boom, boom, boom. We actually have an intro song, so.
Oh, do you? There you go.
Welcome to the K Podcast. And we're live. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Joe Breezy. And I'm here with Danny and Zach. Feel the burn, Abracemente. And before we get started with the show, I just want to remind you guys to check out the website, cave.com. That's K4V3.com. We got blogs over there. We got merch. And we feature our guests on the website every week. So when this episode comes out, you'll see the Playmaker all over our website. And now we got J2 Mattioli back on the Cave Podcast. What's up, J2? How you doing, man?
What's good, guys? Good to see you guys again.
Man.
What's up?
We saw the ladder match. I just saw the Iron Man match. Dude, how's it been, man? How's the career been from the last time we spoke? I feel like you've had exponential growth from then and now, and I feel like things are lining up for you right now.
Yeah. I think last time we talked, a lot of things were kind of set in motion, and then things started moving quicker. Mm-hmm. And I got very fortunate to have these opportunities presented to me, and then I pretty much took them and made something better, you know. So I've just been doing my thing, and positive things have been happening ever since. So
that's awesome, man. Happy to see that. We were there first, man. We were there in the beginning.
You were.
It's all happening.
So we see that. We follow you on social media. We see the tease of the tag team. Are you coming back and getting in some tag team action?
So there's quite a few things happening. I know Friday I'm going to be tagging with my old tag partner, Michael Hopkins, up in Chatsworth for Millennium Pro Wrestling. But he just needed a partner, you know. So I'm an old friend, so I decided to, answer the call. So I'm just doing an old friend a favor. But as far as my other group, we just announced a brand new stable down here in SoCal. It's called the Heartless Kings. And you guys better be on the lookout for the Heartless Kings, because they're going to take over SoCal.
Awesome.
Very cool.
I saw the logo. I'm a very big HBK fan. HBK inspired?
A little bit,
Okay.
but I would say it's more inspired by like a little bit of The Weeknd and definitely Bullet Club.
Oh, okay.
I kind of wanted a team that was very similar to them, but it wasn't like an exact copy of them. So something a little inspired by them.
I see. Well, I'm a fan of the print, and I want a shirt when it comes out, man.
I got you.
For sure.
Hell yeah.
So, what are the big plans? Are there any matches set with the new stable, or any storylines you guys are going with?
So right now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the promotion got rebranded. Level Up is no longer a thing. We rebranded. Now we are San Diego Pro Wrestling Academy. The school, we changed the school name, and now our shows will be also San Diego Pro Wrestling. So we're kind of taking a new direction with how everything goes, but it's kind of like a blank slate right now. All the old stories are kind of, we might still use some of them, but a lot of the things are revamped. So I would say be excited for that. A lot of big changes happening with that. But as far as the team goes, I got to slowly kind of get them out there, and kind of people need to kind of see who they are first before they kind of understand. But what I will say is I'll be working on some stuff to kind of explain each member so people get more excited about the group. So stay tuned, because I will probably have a video come out this week about the Heartless Kings.
Great. Man, I feel like all the great ones can cross the threshold from being an individual superstar into a tag team stable. I mean, we got Bret Hart with the Hart Foundation, D-Generation X, and the Bloodline. And like you said, the Bullet Club, the Elite, all of them. And individually, those superstars are their own, names, and they can gravitate and attract an audience, a pretty good audience size themselves too, by themselves. So that's cool. And I remember the last time we saw you, we saw the stable kind of form too at MPW. Is that stable still going on? What's the name of that stable? That guy was huge, man. We were talking when we were watching that guy. That guy looked like a pro wrestler already. Humongous.
Was it I think it was Red Lock. I think the stable was called Red Lock. The cool thing about MPW is that it's a weekly show, so there's shows every week. So we like to kind of test things out and kind of do trial runs. And I kind of saw something with that group, but I definitely wanted to bring it to San Diego and kind of have more of my touch to it, and then kind of refine it. And I think with this new group, I think it's going to be a lot more, more presentable, I would say. So that's kind of what I was trying out there at MPW.
So with the Level Up rebranding to San Diego, are you guys resetting the whole universe as a whole? You guys are bringing the same characters, obviously, but pretty much clean slate, new storylines, new heat with each other.
Of course, yeah. So with new storylines, obviously everybody that goes to our shows are returning fans that know exactly what's going on. They know the rivalries that happened before. Like if the fans come to this show, if they see me and Jordan Cruz, they know there's some heat between us because me and Jordan Cruz just had a 60-minute Ironman match. So they're going to remember that kind of stuff. And we're not going to not talk about that, but we're definitely going a new direction with new storylines, new belts, things like that. So be very excited for the future. And I definitely recommend that you guys keep your eyes on this promotion because a lot of big things will be happening.
For sure, definitely will.
Speaking of belts, have you grabbed any new titles along the way since the last time?
I did get I was able to regain the national title again. I know because I know you guys were at the EWF and you guys saw me as the EWF champion.
Do you still have the belt?
No, I did get a replica though. I got a replica belt because it was I'll show you.
I think it actually looks really dope.
Champ, we're about to help you, bro.
I was gonna say I had the old IC title feel. That's so sick.
Yeah, I like that. Cool feel.
Yeah,
the WF too looks cool.
Yeah, I wanted a replica just because the belt had so much history. So
right, you were saying
that belt just meant a lot to me. So I was like, if there's a belt that I'd want to get a copy of, it'd be that one. So, yeah. But the national title, that was pretty much it right now. I've just been more focused on just getting more matches and things like that. But right now I'm on top of the world, I would say. So. I might be chasing the new San Diego Pro Wrestling title once we get that. You never know.
So I'm curious now, and since we talked about you being involved in multiple organizations, and you're forming stables in different organizations too, with your creative freedom, and you kind of have leverage now, right? Like your social media following is growing, and there's obvious eyes, and it's obvious people are going there for you. When I was watching the Iron Man match, I mean, people two. What's your cheer? Is it J2 or is it 2? What do people usually cheer for you?
So the OG fans, they all cheer 2.
Okay.
Just because when I first started, the fans started that chant because I had a 2 in my pants, and so they would always be like two. So they would always say 2. It's kind of like my Daniel Bryan yes chant, So.
Yeah,
the OG fans just kind of started that, and then they kept doing it. So that's where the 2 came from. But most of the time, they say J2, or they'll go like "Let's go J2," things like that. But it's funny because no matter how hard I try to be a heel and a bad guy, like people just love me in San Diego because I'm their hometown hero. So it's really hard to hate your hometown hero, especially when he's like the coolest guy there.
Hey, bro, you're like the nicest guy too. I remember the last episode you were talking about killing people with kindness in every situation. So, like to play a heel, and I remember you were saying that some people were kind of hesitant to have you turn heel because they couldn't see you be a heel because you're such a nice guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're making it work. I like the angle of heel you're taking, and it's one of those things we talked about too. You're such a good heel that you're kind of baby face heel, kind of like how MJF is sometimes.
Right.
But I was going to ask, since you have that creative freedom and you have leverage now, would you say, could you possibly like just build like a super stable of, a collective of all the wrestlers that you have a stable with, like, the Heartless Kings and the MPW stable that you were building up? Could you potentially do that, like a super bloodline?
100%. Yeah. Like this group, I want to take it everywhere. And I think of it very similar to Bullet Club, where if it becomes a big thing, let's say I take this to EWF, right? Well, what's stopping me from maybe getting Super Beetle or Anthony Idol to join me? You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is that this group is not just a San Diego thing. We're going to make it a big thing, and hopefully it can take over SoCal and get popular. And you never know, it might become a bigger thing. So we're hoping for that kind of stuff.
I like the big vision you have with it. Instead of it just being local to SoCal, to San Diego, you want it
right
to break out. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, the more people feel involved, the more people are invested. So that's fucking smart.
Yep.
Be styling, profiling like the Four Horsemen.
Speaking of stables, who do you guys think is the best stable ever?
We can't lie. The Bloodline's pretty good right now.
Bloodline is pretty fucking good. And I was wearing DX the last time we were on, and that DX was my favorite group. And I remember, wasn't it Raw 30 when Roman Reigns tweeted, "The best stable's going to be there." Oh yeah, DX is going to be there too.
If I had to choose one, it's probably the New World Order, just because like everybody wanted to be in that in WCW. So to me, they're the best stable, and so because I remember there was a time where everybody was joining it, and then they split up into two. It's like, how much
the B team,
the red and black Wolfpack.
Yeah, like WCW literally became them. So
yeah.
So to me, that's why they're the biggest stable.
Like I said, I was a big WWF. I was a big WWF boy. So fucking NWO was my enemy. I was always DX.
Yeah.
But Shawn Michaels eventually turned NWO for a little bit when WWE acquired WCW. So
Booker T was in that too, and so was Big Show. They were getting
Booker T in NWO? No, I think it was just his brother.
No. Booker T was in it for like a very short.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
it wasn't just
2003, 2002.
Let's just say
later on.
If you watch that video now, it definitely didn't age well.
No. No, definitely did not.
Wasn't there a rumor or something leaked or something now where they believe that DX wanted to take over a WCW show or something like that? Jerizi, you were telling me about it, or?
I think at the height of, not the height, when DX was starting to gain momentum, I don't know if this is what you're referring to, they did like their own kind of invasion where they took a military Jeep and they drove to the doors of WCW Monday Nitro. I think that's what you're referring to, yeah. I don't think they were allowed in, though, but...
No, they closed the doors. That's like one of the biggest what ifs in wrestling is like, what if they would have let DX into the arena that night? That could have been bonkers.
That would have been crazy.
Yeah. Didn't they finally collide during Triple H versus Sting at that WrestleMania?
Yeah, WrestleMania 31.
I think it finally happened, right?
They finally went toe to toe, and of course Shawn was the X factor in that one.
Right.
Help Triple H win. But that was dope. The pops for all those entrances were wild. I I don't think anyone was expecting that much shenanigans to happen in that match, but it was so perfect.
I don't care.
the
I don't care if
reason.
it's 20 years delayed. Like it was finally good to see it.
Yeah, that's when
That's-
overbooking is
that's
done
the
right,
reason
in my
though.
opinion.
No, I was gonna say that's the reason why Sting didn't want to join WWE, because he always knew that he wasn't gonna get pushed to he was gonna be kind of like a jobber for the bigger names in WWE. So
Yeah,
sad
well,
to
under
see
Triple
that.
H, of course, under Triple H.
and he
golden
lost to
child.
Seth Rollins too, but yeah,
Oh,
it is
man.
what it is.
Well, I mean, he did take a buckle bomb and like collapse in the ring. He couldn't really finish the match.
Yeah, that too. That's true.
Unfortunately, that's when Seth was injuring everybody, right?
So, Playmaker, you're filling in for a tag team. You said you're doing a favor. How is it when you're not feeling well in wrestling? How's it when you guys call in for work? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a nightmare. I'm pretty sure that's a nightmare for the promoter, right? But I mean, if you can't make it, you can't make it. How does that process go?
Oh man. So I kind of have a story on that about calling out on a booking, a big booking too.
Oh no.
Yeah. So me and my tag partner and my two tag partners, we're going to do a 6-man tag in Denver, Colorado, and we bought our ticket. Or my friend worked at the airport, so we were on standby, and we got our flight. But we had to fly to Vegas first, and then Denver. So we flew to Vegas, and then we had to wait to get on a plane. But there was like weather issues happening in Colorado, so they had to delay the flight. And then they were like, "Oh, we can take one of you, but we can't take all three of you," because it was like a standby thing.
Yeah.
And so we're like, "Oh shoot!" So we're not going to get there till like 8, and the show starts at like 7.
Oh shit.
So I had to message the promoter and be like, "Hey man, we're stuck in Vegas, and our flight got delayed, so we're not going to arrive there till like 8 o'clock. So we're not going to make it." And he wasn't very happy about that, because he had to like scramble to figure out who to fill in and stuff. But we got lucky, and we got booked at a show in Vegas that same day. So
no way, that's crazy.
yeah, we got booked at, Future Stars of Wrestling that day, so we got pretty lucky. So something bad turned out to be something good.
That's awesome.
But,
that's good. That's dope.
Yeah.
Were you still able to stay in good contact with that promotion?
From Denver?
You still work with them? Yeah.
No.
Oh no! Wait, were you guys like main event or something?
He was going to put us up there, but I don't think it was main event. It's called Rocky Mountain Pro. I think it's like the TV. It's like a TV style promotion over there in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's not like a super big deal, but it's probably the best promotion to get on.
I think
Colorado.
I might have heard of it, Rocky. Yeah, it has history, right? Going back to like the 80s.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think I might have seen a small video of it on YouTube, like a documentary of it, I think. Where it has history.
But I mean, there's nothing we could have done about it, So
yeah, you can't look back now, right?
Yeah, I mean, he could stay mad, but can't do anything about it. So, but yeah, mostly the process is you hit up the promoter and say, "Hey, my car broke down or something," and they'll understand, obviously, most of the time, and they'll figure out replacements usually, because there's always people there, like wrestlers are there to help out with ring crew and stuff. So they'll usually say like, "Oh, this guy can't make it. We'll move the card like this," and then they'll fill in like one of the students or someone that's helping out to be on the show, because that's usually how it works. When guys aren't booked, they'll go help out at shows and do security and stuff like that, ring crew, and then sometimes they'll get an opportunity to, because they'll have their gear, so they'll bring their stuff and they get on sometimes. And it happens a lot of times, actually, like almost every show, because guys call out all the time.
Yep. Universally, man.
Yeah.
I know that one very well.
That's my love language. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I guess it does open up opportunities for the next one up too. So a bad thing can become a good thing for other people too. That's cool. So wrestling throughout other states across the country, Vegas seems like a good one. How was that experience, and how's the crowd over there different from SoCal where you usually wrestle?
Vegas is not as big of a place because it's so small. Everyone knows, like, you go to Nevada,
Mhm.
it's either Reno or Las Vegas, and that's it. But like most people just go to Las Vegas, and I will say Las Vegas is a show town. So,
Right.
but I don't want to say the fans are like super into it. You know, like you would assume they would be, but they're very similar to the SoCal crowd. It's like you gotta be one of their guys to kind of get them excited. But whenever I've been, to me, one of the best places to wrestle was Seattle, up in Washington, because Seattle, they pop for like simple stuff. They like leapfrogs and shoulder tackles. If you wrestle in SoCal or Vegas, they want to see like Canadian destroyers. They want to see like over the top rope stuff, you know. So I feel like here I kind of have to destroy my body more compared to up north or even East Coast, you know. So it just depends.
Yeah. We got spoiled by all the lucha, south of the border.
Yeah,
that's exactly that's what it is, man. All those luchadors.
Really? Oh, okay. I was just joking, but that's really what it
makes
is.
a lot of sense.
No, it's true. You know, all the luchadors do all the crazy stuff, so we have to compete with them. So, yeah.
They kind of have an advantage being so flashy like that, right? Like you can throw those guys in Vegas, and even though they're a generic act, the fact that they're flashy moves, like if you're, what's his name, El Vikingo Del Hijo, bro, you can throw a trash bag on that guy and he'll pop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, for real though. Like
that's true.
Yeah. It's just luchadors can just they're so good at those like moves that not many other people can do. Because if you wrestle a guy from America, most of the time, well, most guys in California, they know lucha libre because we're accustomed to it because there's a lot of lucha guys that wrestle here. But if you went to the East Coast, you're not going to find luchadors there. You know, it's very rare. But if you took those guys to the East Coast, they would be amazing. You know, because it's not very easy to get them over there. But as far as here goes, yeah, we got to compete. I got to compete. That's why occasionally you'll see me do a lucha rana or something, which I can do. It's just I don't do it unless I wrestle like someone that I know that can carry me because I'm 240, so it's got to be a strong guy.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, what's the most lucha move in the moveset of the Playmaker? You would say was the Hurricane with the what is it? The Poison Rana?
Yeah, the Hurricane Rana. You know, the one where you run at the guy and like you jump up with your legs. It's called the head scissors.
Right.
And I throw my leg at him, and then he like catches me, and then I throw him, and he takes a flip.
You do kind of a backflip and you throw him with your legs.
Yeah, I've done both. There's two versions of it. There's one where he gets me in like a sidewalk, and then he turns me, and then there's one where I catch him. So I've done both. So that's probably the most lucha move I've ever done, but I could do alitas, I can do frog splash, I can do all that stuff. I just don't do it.
Can you because I have to ask this because I never thought fucking Brock Lesnar could do a shooting star press. Could you do a shooting star press?
No.
Okay. I need to update my Playmaker moveset then.
He was hoping.
Let me ask you, what's one move that you really wanted to do, but after doing it, you're like, nope, not doing it again? It probably hurt, or you felt awkward, where you're like, you know what? No, I can't do that right now.
I did a dive once. It was the suicide dive. The one where the guys throw themselves to the outside. So everybody just goes, everyone when they do the suicide, they just do this. And my favorite wrestler, Misawa, when he would do a dive, he leads with a forearm. So he dives into the guy, but he hits him with a forearm. And I did it to one guy I wrestled. There's a video of it, and he didn't really catch me, and so I landed on my hip, and it hurt really bad, and I just couldn't wrestle for like a couple, and it also hurt my wrist. So after I did that, I was like, I'm never going to do this flying forearm dive to the outside ever again. But I still do the suicide dive. I just do the one with both hands, so I can like make sure to grab them.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Maybe
Yeah, I guess a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna say the second closest thing would probably be like the moonsault, but I think I could do a moonsault. It's just when I hit moonsaults, I go to my side. I don't go straight back.
Mhm.
I'm just not I'm not used to going backwards.
I see.
That makes sense.
Yeah, when I would do moonsaults off the diving board, I would go to the side, right? Go over to my right too. So I feel you.
Yep.
Feel you on that.
Yep.
So I heard for me, dude, when I first saw the Canadian Destroyer, I was like, what the fuck? Like wrestling has evolved into another level, you know? But it looked dangerous, but I was told it's not as dangerous as it looks. Is that true? Have you ever been in a Canadian Destroyer? Have you ever done a Canadian Destroyer?
Oh yeah, I've done it and given it.
God damn!
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I would be down to take one, bro.
It's actually not that hard. It's a pretty easy move. The thing is that the secret is if the guy has big thighs, you know,
okay.
the guy that's giving it to you. If he has big thighs like me, then you're going to be safe, brother.
Okay.
But if they don't hit leg day, then I got some bad news for you. You better hope the top of your head doesn't touch that mat, you know.
Oh shit!
So that makes the Bunny Destroyer even more impressive than the one I hit on Damien.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Is that more? It looks like it's more on the person taking it too. Does the person taking it have to?
Yeah. So the guy taking it has to jump backwards. If you don't jump backwards, like it doesn't look as good. So if you see guys giving the move, because the easy part is you just going forward, right? The guy going over him. But when the guy taking the move goes backwards, he's got to jump. Because if he doesn't jump, then the move doesn't look as pretty, you know.
Okay.
And it's hard when you're heavy. And it's hard. So if you see like a guy that's 250 hitting a beautiful one, then that guy's really athletic. But if you guys see like a skinny guy doing it, it's easy for them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's why, I don't know. It's not that much of a pop when you see it from Darby, because I feel like it's more obvious when Darby, you know, does his Canadian Destroyer on some bigger people. It's like, come on, man! Like he just hugged him and went along for the ride.
That's it.
Pretty much.
Definitely need to see like someone like Bronson Reed or Braun Strowman hit that. That would be next level.
Yeah. Insane.
That'd be absolutely sick.
Have you had any tryouts? I know last time you mentioned you had tryout with New Japan. Have any cool opportunities like that come up?
Yeah, so I got like I was saying, I have so much lined up. So obviously I talked about Level Up, but I didn't get to tell you guys about the future plans now. And I know you guys are gonna want to talk to me again after I tell you. But I got hit up. I got hit up by New Japan. They're gonna do a show at the LA Dojo in Carson, I want to say, over there. And they hit me up, so they want me to be in their first dojo show for New Japan. So this could lead to hopefully bigger opportunities for New Japan.
Hell yeah! And
that's going to be happening in June 10th.
Cool.
So very soon. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
And then in October, thank you. And then in October, I'm going to actually fly to Japan and hopefully get on a show in Japan, because I wrestled a guy at MPW named Shota. And I messaged him and asked him, hey, man, like, what do I got to do to get to Japan? And because he flew himself to the U.S. and he just hit up promotions and he wrestled across the country from Japan. And he told me the same thing. He's like, hey, man, just fly yourself here. Tell me when you're here and I'll help you get on shows. And I said, okay. So I bought my ticket and I messaged him, told him the date I'm going to be there. And he was like, hey, I'm going to work on getting you on a show. So
nice.
You know, you guys might be seeing the Playmaker make his Japanese debut in October. So,
man,
that's awesome.
Let's do this.
That's so sick. Hey, speaking of New Japan, are you going to be hitting up the show at the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach?
Yeah.
Is that this weekend or next weekend?
I think it's this weekend, actually. I want to say they hit me up to do ring crew and stuff, but I'm already booked for a show, so I won't be available for that. But their ring crew is a lot different than like your typical wrestling ring crew, because doing ring crew for them is not like, oh, a guy called out, so ring crew guy's going to take their spot. It's more like, because they actually pay their ring crew guys, and it's more it's more for them to know who you are. But yeah, I'm already booked for a show, so I said no.
Dang.
Let's see.
Watch out. I'm kidding.
That's good. Oh, that's good.
Nah, that's dope, man. I wish you the best. And yeah, June 10th, I think that's a date I can make. So hopefully we can get the cave out there.
I'll definitely let you guys know so you guys can check it out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's Carson, so it's down the street
Not
from me.
not too far, yeah.
No, it's not too far at all. Yeah.
Dope.
So I saw the Iron Man match, and like I said, I was talking to Zach about it before you came on. I didn't see the MJF Bryan Danielson match. I saw the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart match, and I've seen some other Iron Man matches. Bro, yours is up there, bro. That one was pretty good. I like I like the chair shot for the DQ to take the dub.
So smart.
You gave him one. You gave him one.
You got to be smart, bro. Look. That's the thing about the Playmaker. I got plays, baby. People are like, "Why is he the Playmaker?" Now you know why. Yeah, that was tough, guys. I mean, that was probably the hardest match to get prepared for, because mentally it screws with you, because it's like a competition, right? If you think of a triathlon, you're gonna be like, man, my cardio's got to be good. This has got to be good, because I've never wrestled an hour before. So when we were talking about it, and then they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna do an Iron Man match, and I was like, oh shit, can I do this? But Jordan was telling me, he's like, of course you can. If you couldn't do it, I wouldn't I wouldn't want you to do this kind of match with me. And I said, all right.
There you go.
So
seal of approval. That's dope.
Yeah. So I worked my ass off, man. I trained 3 times a day, and then went to the gym, did cardio almost every day. And I'll tell you this, I was not even once tired in that match. Like,
I was gonna say, you didn't look tired at all, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
even when you fell down at the end, on your knees, it's like,
Yep.
oh, that was a 10 out of 10.
There is a good old saying Shawn Michaels would say. It was Shawn would always say, I was never tired, but I had to pretend I was tired, because I was just not tired. So Shawn always was very big on that. He would say, like, he was never tired, so he just pretended. So that's kind of what I had to do. I had to pretend I was tired.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but I have to ask you guys, what was your favorite part about the Iron Man match?
Oh man, honestly, it's hard to say. I'll go first. I like multiple parts of it, but as a whole, I would say the crowd leaving singing your song, man. That was probably the best part of it. It's like I watched it on YouTube, so the promo was dope. The pre-promo before the you guys were introduced. The match was dope. I like like I said, the chair shot, the double pin, and the buzzer beater, but he didn't quite make it.
That finish was insane. Even I was like, I don't know if we can do this.
I thought he was going to pull it off, but I looked at the clock and I'm like, oh, what kind of bullshit is going to happen now? And then it's like, that's dope, because you said your favorite match before that was the ladder match, which he also won.
Yep.
So 2 for 2, man. 2 for 2, right?
2 for 2, baby.
Favorite matches being the ones you win in. That's dope.
That's how it goes, man.
Yeah, but I was watching it with my wife, and then there's that part where you're laying on the mat, your song was on, you were singing the song, and the crowd was dancing and singing the song too.
Yep.
And at the end, when you were like, "Save your tears for another day."
Yeah, I was like, "Save your tears, baby." Yeah,
that was picture perfect, because the timing of that, of you being at that spot for the lyric to hit too. Artistry, bro. Artistry.
Thanks.
Hey, so I didn't know much about you until, because I'm fairly new to the Cave team. So my first slice of J2 was with EWF in San Bernardino.
Nice.
I just gotta tell you, man, I was so shocked that you were the heel and Idol was the fan. I was like, what is this? No, like, look at these guys. He's like completely different. How are we not cheering for J2 right now? But it sounds like you're a big fan of playing the heel role. Is that true? Like does that come easier to you, or would you prefer to be face? Or
You know, I don't know, man. It's tough, man. I've had my fair share of fun being a face, like, but sometimes I feel like when you're a heel, you just have so much control over everything, the match, the crowd, and it feels nice to kind of be the guy the orchestrator, you know, the guy that's really calling the shots. So I'll have to say that being a heel is probably my favorite right now because it's so much easier to be a heel everywhere. Because sometimes a face, you have to kind of earn people. You don't just like, you know, people aren't just going to cheer for you just because even if I look cool, even if I talk good and wrestle good, like some people just, it's hard. You got to earn them, you know, they're just so attached to certain characters. And I think with my character, it's so easy to make fun of me and it's so easy to like point at me and tell me I suck. And then I interact with you. So it makes you more like, I hate them, but I love them. So that's why to me, it's funner to be a heel.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like it would be harder for someone to get that seal of approval as a face and like to make that climb, you know, like chasing the bad guy rather than the bad guy can like, especially the good ones, they could like, I mean, as you see with like Dominic Mysterio, he just puts a microphone in front of his face and he gets booed. So it feels like it's definitely a lot easier to get that heat if you're a heel and it's just a lot easier to keep that up.
Well, I'll definitely say that I feel like J2 is kind of like, he's like that heel in a movie that's the main character. He's like the bad guy main character. That's kind of how I've always felt about J2, like as a heel. He's the main character in the movie that does all the bad stuff, but he's still the guy everybody's rooting for because he is the bad guy. So that's kind of how I've been feeling about him lately. But that show was crazy too because when you guys were there was a lot of people from San Diego that came up to that show. I know you guys probably remember this one lady that was screaming herself.
Yeah.
She was, her name's Mona. She goes to all the shows in San Diego, and she's like a super fan. We call them super fans, where they're super loud, super into it, and she doesn't care. She loves me. So I come out and I do my dance, and she's singing the song, and she's like, "J2, I love you," you know. and then Idol came out, and she's like, "Boo, Idol, I hate you, Idol," even though Idol's like the baby face, you know. So, but that crowd was crazy because that San Bernardino crowd, man. I love them. They're so into it, and I know you guys could see it too that day. It was just like. They're so into the matches, so I'm glad you guys were there for that match.
Of course,
yeah, that was super fun. I think Danny, when we went to AEW, is that who you ran into?
Yeah, that's who I ran into. So we went to back in January when we went to AEW in LA, and I saw her in line, and she looked familiar. So I approached her. I was like, "Excuse me, were you at the EWF event a month ago?" And she's like, "Oh yeah," and we just talked a little bit, and it was cool. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, she loves going to all those shows, so she's fun.
Yeah,
she's definitely having a good time for sure.
So I wonder, because I remember back then they would say that they would kind of plant staff in certain WWE crowds to start chants and stuff, right? Do super fans like that get benefits, you know, like free tickets to shows? Because I feel like you need those fans at shows sometimes, right?
I mean, depends on the promotion. I know some promotions are very like they'll kind of give them like a fan like kind of season ticket thing where they go to every show and they'll pay like a lump sum and then they come to shows or something. But it just depends on the promotion. But I've seen some fans, like I think Mona does that with like SoCal Pro. I also seen a couple fans up north in LA that kind of have the same kind of situation, but definitely they get some sort of perks sometimes. It just depends on the promoters and kind of that stuff. But it's very tough in indie wrestling because at the end of the day, like shows need money for the wrestlers, show needs money for their building, different reasons. So it just depends.
It's another pie to cut too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Speaking of heel and babyface too, though, do you think if you eventually go back to babyface, you'll have a shade of heel now? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think if I went back to babyface, a little slight moment of heel J2 might come out. You know, like where you guys see that version, it's like he snaps back into it. It's like, oh, what am I doing? That's not me anymore. So it just depends. But I don't know, guys. Maybe that might be happening a lot sooner than you think. But for a certain promotion, you never know. Because you guys totally understand that every promotion is like their own universe. So maybe one promotion might be like, hey, we want this blue J2 over the red one, which is totally fine. You know, I'm willing to do both roles. So, and I'm kind of excited to do babyface again. So I feel like I'd be a better babyface now.
Yeah. What's cool about your character too, I mean, from my perspective, is I feel like if you went babyface, you don't even have to switch to the blue J2. I feel like the red J2 can just be, you know,
100%.
Thinking straight now, so he's making the right choices. You know,
100%. Yeah, I've been told
like Mankind, right? Remember, we kind of referred it to Mankind. Yep. So he could be a babyface, be a heel too.
That's true. That's fair.
I actually think the best thing about the two colors you chose too is if you want to be a tweener, you can just rock the purple.
Oh,
you just come out with some purple stuff. A little in between action there.
I'm a Mace Windu. I'm a Mace
Mace Windu. The purple saber.
Yeah, purple saber.
Quick question for you, J2.
Sure.
So you have had two really big matches lately. You know, just to add this to your catalog in your career, like, would one of those be the matches you're most proud of, or is there something in the past that you're most proud of, or, you know, when you just go and take a look back at what you've done so far this year and then years past, you know, what would you say is the most proud match you have that you've been in, or is it maybe, you know, an accomplishment that you have that you're most proud of in your career?
Yeah, I mean, for now, I would say the Iron Man is probably my proudest match I've had, just because it's one of those matches that literally not any wrestler can say they've done, because it's not a match that you know, who's really gonna sit down and watch a 60-minute match? You know, not many people. Imagine if that happened every week on every show. Like, people would just not have the attention span. So yeah, most wrestlers go their entire career without having a 60-minute match, you know. So for me, it's such a huge accomplishment to say that I've done that and actually had a good match, because most of the times it's either really good or really bad, you know, because most guys can't handle it. So for me, yeah, this Iron Man match is definitely the top match I've had so far.
Yeah, we were talking before you came on too about Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart's first Iron Man match. I remember that Iron Man match being really big just because it was in WrestleMania, and Shawn Michaels was finally champion. You know, the childhood dreams of being champion finally fulfilled. But rewatching it, it was very technical. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't what you thought a Shawn Michaels match would be. It was more of a Bret Hart match, you know, up until the last 10 seconds of it. How did you prepare for the Iron Man match? Did you guys, did you and Jordan sit down together? Did you go back and watch Iron Man matches, or did you just kind of look at it with a clean slate? And, you know,
so definitely Jordan was more of the one that quarterbacked like the ideas of the match. But for me, I was more, I was actually trying to watch Iron Man matches, but I couldn't find any on YouTube because they're all cut up in pieces or highlight videos.
Dude, you should have asked me for my Peacock, bro.
Yeah, we got Peacock logins for you, dude.
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
So I couldn't really watch one. So I watched the MJF match with, I watched the MJF match, and that was pretty similar. But what I did to prepare was I just, like I said, I did the treadmill, I did the wrestling, I did a lot of like technical wrestling. So I would grab students and be like, all right, we're going to wrestle for 45 minutes. We're going to wrestle for 30 minutes. I'd put the timer on and I'd wrestle them nonstop and things like that. But me and Jordan have wrestled so much together that entire match, you cannot really call that match. Like you can't talk about it in the back and be like, all right, this is what we do here, because there's way too much going on in between. So this is one of those matches where you truly are a worker. And I don't know if you guys know the term worker, but a worker is someone that, can wrestle without having to plan out spots,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a lot of improv.
Right. Like all that stuff I'll tell you guys this, that most of that match, there was only 3 spots that were called.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the rest of the match was on the fly. Me and Jordan were just talking to each other, working together. And that was the impressive thing about that match, was that proved to everybody that me and him are professionals and we can have a very good match without planning so much. So to me, it was like I earned my stripes, and I'll tell you this, I walked out of there and you guys saw, you saw the tears drop and all that. And I walked out of there and as I was walking to the locker room, I was just like,
You didn't save your tears for another day, huh?
I saved my tears for another day.
Oh, okay.
I was high as a kite because I was like, holy shit, I can wrestle anybody. I was like, bruh, bring the tribal chief right now. I will take him down. I was like, bring him, bring Kenny Omega. I don't care. Bring whoever. I will wrestle them. Like my confidence. My confidence was so high after that match because I was just worried I was going to get tired. I was worried that we were going to mess up stuff, but no, everything worked out. Like it was like a dream. So yeah, that's all I can really say about that.
Should have went off on Twitter, man.
I should have. I'm like, Roman, I'm coming for you next, Tribal Chief. Can you go 60? Yeah, that's kind of the joke I've been doing now. Every time I come out, I'm like, I'm Mr. Iron Man. I went 60, and I think I was yelling at Mona at the last show, and Mona was yelling at me because she was mad. She's like, J2, how could you? And I was like, how could I? I was like, Mona, can you even go 60 minutes? And she's like, can you go 60? I was like, lady, I just went 60 minutes. And then I think another guy was joking. I think at a lucha show, I was like, I'm Mr. Iron Man. I can go 60 minutes, and he's like. And then I looked at this guy and I was like, I bet you can't even go 6. And it's funny because people are making fun of him because, the joke sounds like I'm making fun of his sex life. So.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah, seriously.
Those are the best heel insults when you can apply that same insult to several different things. That's the best. Yeah. Because then anybody can take it however they want to. That's fantastic.
Right. Exactly.
That's cool too. Now I understand too how the Iron Man match could mean a lot more to you because they don't just book Iron Man matches for people with a small following, right? Because people would just leave after 10, 15 minutes if the wrestling isn't on point. I feel like with the promo that was built too, there was obvious buildup for the heat, and I feel like fans were invested in the characters to be able to sit down and actually watch 60 minutes of wrestling. So that was cool.
They definitely should care about the 2 wrestlers involved because it's not like a match. Let's say you guys were watching WWE and then they were like, hey, Spike Dudley and Gilbert are going to have a 60-minute Iron Man match.
Yeah. Right.
You guys would be like,
time to get popcorn.
Yeah. Well, you guys will probably watch a little bit and then you'll be like, all right.
This kind of sucks, yeah.
But if you guys heard Stone Cold and The Rock, you guys were like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Because
how did they not have an Iron Man match, right?
Because they didn't want to.
Oh, they couldn't do it, right?
Those guys are like, we only wrestle 10-minute matches, all right? 60 minutes, you guys are asking way too much.
It's on my contract.
I'm actually surprised we got an Iron Man match out of The Rock with Triple H. That's kind of a big deal.
What was it, a 30-minute? 30 minutes?
No, it was 60. It was 60 at Judgment Day. That was when Taker came back.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta watch
that's the one that had a bunch of shenanigans in it, too, with, Triple H having his what was it, the McMahon and Helmsley era or whatever.
Yeah.
But But no, like you're exactly right. Like you gotta have meaningful rivalries and promos and storylines to get to a match like the Iron Man match. 'Cause that was my biggest worry with MJF and Daniel Bryan. Like when they
Mhm.
Bryan Danielson, when they first announced it and they were building toward it, I was like, whoa, like this is pretty intense because we haven't really seen MJF, perform like that, at least with AEW. And we've seen Bryan Danielson wrestle and know that he can bring it. So like I personally had that intrigue of like it was more so what's MJF gonna do? Like
Yeah.
how is he gonna handle this? How is this gonna work? And the way they booked that was tremendous. Like it felt like they booked each fall and like they were just trying to get to each fall, but the way they got there, the improv, which was
Right.
great. And it flowed so well together and it exceeded all my expectations. That's definitely one of the greatest of all time with the Iron Man matches. But yeah, like you said, they had to have that story and a good reason to care. Otherwise, it's just two dudes fighting in a ring for 60 minutes.
The best compliment I got from the match was like something I never thought of, and that was I got it from wrestlers, I got it from fans, and the compliment was that didn't feel like 60 minutes. Which is
That's awesome.
This is the best thing to hear because we were worried that, oh man, this is going to drag on. People are going to get bored. No one's going to stay for the main event because it's such a long match. But everybody stayed. Nobody left. Like every fan stayed there until the end. And
People
then
were dancing.
Yeah, people were dancing. And people were just telling me it's like that didn't feel like 60 minutes, even though there was a timer on the wall, even though all that kind of stuff. Like people were just so invested into the match that they just were not bored. So to me, that's the best compliment that it didn't feel like a 60-minute Iron Man match, which is funny because when I was watching Iron Man matches, they felt
Oh yeah.
long,
Oh,
I mean, I'm a wrestler, so most of the time I'm just like, I've seen it all. So I'm just kind of like, all right, this is where they do this. But for me, when I watched MJF and Daniel Bryan, I'm not saying the match was bad, but it felt like a 60-minute Iron Man, the way they were doing things. And I don't know, I guess the way me and Jordan did it, it just didn't feel like a 60-minute match,
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like I said, looking back in the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart one,
that one dragged, dude.
that one dragged. Yeah, super duper.
On rewatch. First watch, like you said, is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like watching it again is kind of grueling, but
Yeah.
Agreed.
What I'll say to that,
sorry, go ahead, Dave.
no, I was going to say what I'll say to that though is your conditioning and your cardio and everything, your training that you did ahead of time is what helped because you were able to do that much more action in the ring that, for the fans that were so captivated with what's going on in the ring. That's why it didn't feel like 60 minutes, I think. So, I mean, kudos to you for getting in great shape to be able to put on that much action in there,
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, after the match, it definitely pushed me to get in even better shape because I was like, man, could you imagine if I actually kept doing this whole training hard and stuff like that. So it's helped me tremendously. Like I've lost 30 pounds, almost 30 pounds from since the Ironman. I probably lost 10 pounds during the Ironman. And ever since after the Ironman, I've been dieting. I've been fasting. I've been working out consistently. And now because I was at 260, I think the last time we were talking, and now I'm at 238. So I'm getting there.
Good for you.
Wow.
Yeah, boy.
So I'm trying to get to 220. That's the goal.
220 and some good muscle there,
Yeah, exactly. Trying to get the fucking biceps in there, but yeah, I don't want to lose too much size,
Yeah, for sure. No, that's dope, man. That's good to hear. Good for you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask, you said that sometimes these matches feel like they're 60 minutes. What was your mindset during that match? You said there was a stopwatch or a clock on the wall that you were following. Did you ever glance over and be like, oh man, we're zooming through this, or oh wow, we still got a long ways to go?
Yeah, there was certain times where I'd look at the timer because we would move on from from a situation. So it'd be like Jordan's on top, and then I'm on top, and then we're trying to get to a certain point where, okay, this is where we're gonna do the chair shot. And I knew when that was. It was just like I would look at the time and I'd be like, oh, we still got like 10 minutes. And then the next time I looked at it, where it was like, oh, it's time to go. You know, like it was it was weird because I would look at the time and I'm like, man, I still got 40 minutes to go. And then next thing you know, I look at the clock again. It's like, oh, I'm at 30 minutes now, you know? And so it didn't feel long, I think, because I was constantly doing something. The problem with Ironmans is a lot of guys they just kind of stay there and they don't know what to do. And in my assumption is it's because me and Jordan are, you know, we know what we're both good at. So we understand like, okay, this is where I take charge, and then switch it to him, and then things like that. So we were just in sync that day, I would say. So our chemistry was just right there. So yeah, but time was definitely like not too long. That match really didn't feel like 30. To me, it felt like maybe 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
You've reached an elite pool of wrestlers, man. And even within that pool of wrestlers, and more exclusive pool of wrestlers that have, you know, maybe performed at a 4 or a higher 5 or 4 or 5 star match rating for an Ironman match. So congrats, bro. So what's next? I quit match between you and Jordan?
Maybe if
it ended at a cliffhanger, man.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You know, if there's a match I definitely want to do that I haven't done is a steel cage match. So,
right, we were talking last time.
Yeah. So if anything, I definitely want a steel cage. I think you guys would love to be at that one. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
we'll see if that ever happens. But yeah, definitely a steel cage. I don't know. Steel cages are like dope as hell. So I've always wanted to do one. But that's probably the next big one I would say I want to do. Yeah.
You just want to gain that experience, or is it something that you want to, after doing it once, you're like, oh, you want to continue to do it? Because those steel cage matches, it looks like it takes a lot out of you.
Oh yeah. I mean, to me, wrestling's all about, like, you know, when we were kids, we'd always dream that, oh man, one day I'm going to be on the steel cage match or the Hell in the Cell, the ladder match, you know, things like that. So to me, it's like you're fulfilling a dream. So like my buddy, like Cameron August, when I wrestled him in a ladder match, he's always wanted to have a ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
I never did, but he did. So, you know, same thing with an Iron Man. I never wanted an Iron Man match, but I did it anyway.
So cage match is the one that you actually really want to do.
Dude, cage match.
Hell
That's
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Let's go.
Sure.
Steel kit, rage in the cage.
I'm gonna get on the top like Kurt Angle, hit that moonsault, and
Oh my gosh.
guy moves out of the way.
No.
him and Cody, man, those are the two that would take that, like, all of it when they would hit the moonsault, and then the opponent would move. Just like the prettiest moonsaults, and just taking all of it on the mat.
Dude, those are the workers. Those are the workers, man.
Yeah, like you said, the workers.
Yep.
So was it Cameron August that suggested the ladder match? I mean,
oh yeah, he always said that it's always been his dream to do a ladder match. So when they were talking about storylines and what was the match that J2 was going to get his belt back, they were like, we got to make it a ladder match, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I was just like, all right, let's do it. I didn't know what was going to happen. That was the first time I ever did a ladder match. Like, I didn't really practice anything, maybe like how to set it up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him like practice climbing it to feel it, but we didn't really practice, you know, that stuff all just happened on the fly.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah. Same thing with Iron Man. So I feel like those matches, you have to like go out there like it's your first time, you know?
Right.
That's kind of what I wanted to ask. You know, when there's like a big main event coming up and the two wrestlers, you know, they know it's for the big, you know, for the World Heavyweight Championship. Do the two wrestlers take time and, you know, train with each other, you know, make some moves, I don't know what you call it, but situations, I guess you could call them
Spots.
spots. There you go. Yeah. Do you guys go through with that often if there's like a huge event, or is it just like, hey, we worked well before, kind of like you and your opponent for the Ironman?
Yeah, it just depends on the skill level. Like, I think if a guy has a lot of experience and confidence in themselves, then they don't really call too much, because you don't need to call a lot. When you call too much, it becomes oversaturated, and the fans kind of lose interest, and it becomes cheap pops. Like, they don't get invested into the match. All they care about is the moves. It's kind of like when you watch Transformers. Like, you want to watch Transformers, but then all you see is explosions every second. So you're like, oh, the explosions are cool, but that's all I remember,
Yeah.
You don't remember, like, the fact that the Decepticons did this or that. So that's kind of what it is with moves. But pretty much what happens usually is, like, sure, some guys are going to practice their match and their moves, but they're not going to have the full-on match. They're just it's kind of like in theater where you block, if you guys know what I'm talking about, where you block a scene where, okay, I'll be here, you'll be there at this point. When I'm here, we'll do this. That's kind of how they talk about it. But the more I've been doing this, I've realized that when you call too much, you overload your brain. You're stressing out about stuff. And that's why a lot of wrestlers botch, because they're thinking too much about their spots, because they have too much. They have way too much going on, and it's not that they're bad wrestlers. It's just they got too much to remember. So they're overthinking what they're doing. But if you have less things called, then you don't have to memorize too much. Everything is kind of on the fly. You figure things out. It's like riding a bike, right? Imagine if someone had to tell you how to ride a bike, you'd mess up, right? If you didn't know how. But if you figure out how to ride a bike every day, over time, you're just going to be like, oh, I know how to do this. And even if you stop riding a bike for 10 years, you know how to get back on it. It's the same thing in wrestling. Everything is kind of like second nature, like a bike. So you have to teach yourself to do that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's just,
go ahead.
It's just something I always wondered, like, if, obviously I watch a lot of pro wrestling, so I wonder, like, oh, are the main eventers, do they practice some choreography and, like, and I guess they do, but not too much, huh? Just enough to get a feel of each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha.
It's not to the point to where, oh, we have a big match, main event. Every Tuesdays we'll meet and choreograph and rehearse. It's not to that point, right?
No, and usually if it is, those guys usually won't become like WWE guys, because the WWE guys have to wrestle every week and stuff like that. Imagine if they rehearsed every week. It would wouldn't feel genuine, like the Rock and Stone Cold, like, they went out there and they felt the crowd. They weren't going to be like, yeah, let's do this, and this, because they could obviously do that, but they already knew everybody knows, oh, The Rock's going to hit me with the rock bottom,
Yeah.
Right.
I'll listen to him when he tells me, all right, kid, this is it. That's when I take it. But when he grabs me, he's like, give me an elbow. That's when the guys fight back, That's the simple stuff. But the only thing I could think of them calling is like, hey, this is where a manager comes in. What move do you want to hit me with? So when the manager comes in, they'll hit with you with a chair. Like, that's the stuff they call.
Okay.
They weren't calling the match, because that stuff's like easy, I
think one of the best examples and one of my all-time favorite matches is HBK and Angle at WrestleMania 21, and they have a what's it called, like Untold or something like that, like one of those documentary style shows on Peacock,
right,
where Kurt and Sean are talking about that, and they had never wrestled before that night, and they didn't rehearse it, like you said, Danny. Like, they weren't going over spots. They just went out there, and I think Kurt was saying that Sean took the lead of it, and Kurt was just reacting to him. But all that stuff was improv on the spot that night, and it's it's one of the greatest matches of all time in WrestleMania history.
Yep.
And I think that's just a perfect example of, like, how you said, when you're not thinking of those spots and you're not thinking of your cues of what to do, like you can create real magic on the fly. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, that goes with anything, right? The more you're in the moment,
Yeah.
the more you can adapt to what the crowd is how the crowd is reacting. Because wrestling's kind of improv as well, right? Like if I don't know. I've seen some fumbles. I remember watching AEW and what's the Acclaimed they were popping against, was it Swerve and Keith Lee?
Oh yeah.
And then they made Keith Lee and Swerve won when the crowd was super duper over the Acclaimed. And I felt like, it would have been cool to call an audible there and switch over the decision. But yeah, I feel like that goes with everything, being in the moment, especially wrestling, which is a physical sport, right? Like you really have to be conscious of your weight distribution and how the person is positioned in order to perform these moves to a minimal 3 out of 5 to execute it safely. I wanted to ask before we move into this topic that we spoke about in the last podcast, is there a because in martial arts there's certain moves that you don't ever pull off during practice or training, right? Because they're looked down upon. Are there any moves in wrestling that are really looked down upon that are way too dangerous?
I think depends on your trainer, because some trainers will teach you everything, like even the dangerous stuff. It just depends on the person giving it, because there's some moves that like you can definitely like land on your neck if it's too high, or you can pretty much hurt your partner if you don't do it correctly. A lot of things where you have to flip a guy and then make him land. Pretty much anything where you land super high on your shoulders is like extremely dangerous. One good example is like Kenny Omega's move. You guys know the One Wing Angel.
Oh my goodness!
When he brings him up to the shoulder, he has to grab his head and then make sure that he tucks him, and he takes a high bump on his back. Like that's probably like something that a trainer would have to trust you to teach you. It's not like I can go up to a trainer and say, "Hey, I want to learn the One Wing Angel." Like, sure, someone might teach it to you, but it's very hard because your partner's got to make sure that they tuck their chin, and then you got to make sure that you put them there. So really, there's no like move that's out of bounds, but there's definitely like scary moves that I wouldn't trust anybody with. Like, there's one move. How'd it go? It's this one move where it's kind of like the gory bomb. You guys know what the gory bomb is?
Is that no? I
don't think so.
If you guys ever want to look it up, just look up the gory bomb. It's Eddie Guerrero used to do it. I think. Made it. His uncle or his dad made it. It's where he hooks the back like like this, and he goes under him, and then his feet are over him, and he hugs the feet, and it's usually a submission move, right? Well, someone decided to make that move even bigger by sitting out with it, and the guy's head is like on his back, so he needs to tuck his chin. But it's pretty gnarly. I would say look up the gory bomb, but a sit out gory bomb, I think it's called, or something like that.
Did Chavo Guerrero pull it off?
None of them would do that move. They would just do the gory, which is just a submission way of doing it. But the indie scene definitely like took it and said, "Hey, let's like make it look even dangerouser." So
interesting. Yeah, something I've noticed too about the choke slam, because a lot of wrestlers have adopted the choke slam now.
Oh yeah.
And the way people take them, they put their hand over in the back of their head now, and I didn't really see that during the Undertaker Kane days back in the days. Yeah.
Well, wrestling's really changed now. I mean, I realized that if you really watch the old stuff now, if you watch the '60s, the '80s, the '90s, you can tell these guys are figuring stuff out. Like back in the day, guys weren't bumping how guys bump now. They teach us to bump like this. Back in the day, they were legit just like bumping weird. Like that's why all these guys have back problems and spine issues, because they didn't learn the proper way. They were figuring it out, And nowadays, when you take a big, like for me, when I take a power bomb, cover the back of my head because,
Mhm.
no matter how strong my neck is, my head's going to bounce off that mat. And you guys already know I don't want like brain damage and stuff like that. So the best thing for me to do is to cover my head, even if it's one hand, protects my head. So
Okay, so that's more for the head than it is for the neck.
oh, well, it's kind of for both, but
Okay.
for me it's for the head because if your head hits it, it's gonna cause some brain issue, maybe a concussion if you're not careful. Yeah, so it's just like a safety thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, back in the day, like seeing Undertaker and Kane do it, you would think that there were just moves that you could pull off to your cousin, right?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like the choke slam, I felt like evolved into a more dangerous move than initially thought of. You know what I mean?
Yep, definitely.
So yeah,
definitely.
I was gonna add, I've seen, and we mentioned him earlier, Hijo del Vikingo, and like a lot of his moves, he holds the back of his head a lot. So
yeah, because he's very at risk.
Sheesh.
Every time he does it, like I was talking I think I was in a car with some luchadors, and they were talking about him, and they were just kind of saying like, yeah, every time he does it, it's like there's a high risk of him just one wrong move and boom, because he's so close to the edge. If you guys really watch the video of him hitting that front flip on Kenny, his head almost hits the outside, like it almost hits the apron area. So it's just one little thing and it could end his career right there, if he's not careful. So he's being smart by at least doing this.
Right.
So
yeah, I remember I watched this documentary on Mankind, and back then when Mankind was starting to develop his character as that person who was kind of sadistic, a lot of his peers were like, hey man, like cut it, turn it down a little bit. You don't need to go so hard at every show. But that was kind of what made Mankind. Yeah. And I remember, was it some of the people from the Lucha community said the same thing about El Vikingo. They're like, hey, tone it down, man. Like think about the long run.
100%. Yeah, all those guys. Even one perfect example is Will Ospreay. You guys know Will Ospreay?
Oh, he's one of my favorite wrestlers. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a thing about, I think he was saying when he first started, obviously he was very athletic. He still is. But he even said it in a recent interview. He had to change his moveset because he's getting older and his body's feeling the wear and tear from everything he used to do. So it just goes to show you, like, yeah, we're seeing this cool stuff from Vikingo right now, but 5-10 years from now, guess what? Even if he does still wrestle, he's not going to do the same he did last time. He's going to have to change his wressling.
Right.
Yeah. Agreed.
So,
fucking front flip Hurricane Rana from the top rope.
But it definitely feels like wrestlers of today have changed dramatically in the ways of, like, they may have started as high flyers, but as they keep going in the business, they start turning into technicians, technical wrestlers, strikers, because they can't do the high flying stuff anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's why. I mean, your movesets, man, you're built to last. I see your movesets, and you pulled off a spear in the last Iron Man match in a super kick. So
I did.
Two of my favorite moves.
Yeah, the spear was my original move I used to do when I first started. So I was like, I'll bring it back. Why not?
Call back.
Yeah.
Classic.
Felt good.
I will say, though, the super kick, I mean, we always talk about our favorite moves. And if we had went into pro wrestling, what our finishers would be, and mine would be the super kick, just because you could tune it up and you could pull it off from anywhere. But I don't know, looking at today's landscape, how do you feel personally about the super kick? It's kind of oversaturated now. Everyone's pulling it off.
Yeah,
what do you think about it?
It changes into a transition move instead of being an actual finish. Like we're so accustomed to Shawn Michaels hitting it and that's it. It's over. But nowadays when a guy hits it, it's almost like a parody of Shawn Michaels. Like I love it because if Shawn Michaels still hit a super kick today, people would believe it's a finish because we're so programmed that way.
Yeah.
But anyone else, they just don't have as strong as a super kick as him. So to me, to me, the super kick is just a move into something else now.
Yeah. Transition move. I like that. That's a very accurate way to put it now.
That happens a lot, I noticed, because, for example, back then, you've heard of him, Arn Anderson. His finisher was the DDT, but to him, it's like, he hit it in a certain way that it would knock out the opponents, but everyone else just did a regular DDT when, in reality, it was just the same move. But I think, falls in line with what we're saying here.
Yeah, the sweet chin music is definitely different than super kick. So
100%.
It is because Michaels hit it differently. He probably hit the perfect angle, which on the chin, which made the big difference, kind of thing.
I think he kicked a few people for real.
That's definitely a thing. He definitely made sure he made contact. So he wasn't kidding when he said he was going to kick them their teeth down their throat.
So one thing we mentioned in the last podcast is in high school you went into wrestling and you found out real quick that it wasn't pro wrestling. Did you stick with that? How was your experience with wrestling, and what skills that you acquired from there translated into pro wrestling?
So I stuck with it for 2 years, and the first year I went the whole year. I did the whole like cutting weight thing. So, you're constantly dieting and you were doing a lot of cardio, like running miles and drinking lots of water and stuff like that, and then weighing yourself after. But what I took really serious was the whole, like, once you got in there, it was kind of interesting because they kind of throw you into the fire. Like you wrestle like the seniors and the bigger guys, like they'll be like, oh, you weigh 160? Well, you're going to wrestle the 215-pound guy. And then they would just literally lay on you and you have to get out of there. So it kind of taught you, oh shoot, I have to actually work out of this and stuff like that. So, it definitely teaches you important basics that you're going to need in professional wrestling, because that's what wrestling is based out of, is Greco-Roman style wrestling. So my biggest thing is that if anybody wants to be a pro wrestler, especially like kids, because I get a lot of messages from like high schoolers and stuff on TikTok and Instagram, and they tell me like, oh, I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a pro wrestler. What do I got to do? But I'm in high school but I'm 14, I'm 13. My biggest thing to them is that they should 100% do Greco-Roman wrestling in high school, so they can at least learn how to, shoot a double leg, how to pin somebody properly, because all those things are important and they translate to wrestling. It's the same thing like if you do MMA and stuff, you can translate that to wrestling also.
Right. Interesting.
But, yeah.
I think same thing, some techniques such as even rolling and
fireman's carry, right?
Yeah.
In there.
Well, in jiu-jitsu we call it break falling. So, but what you were saying, when you fall and put your so those are important things that they can learn early on and could definitely translate into, or go, move into the professional.
Well, if you guys ever do a little history on like lucha libre pro wrestling, everything's derived from different fighting styles, right? When I found out about the headlock takeover, that came from judo. It came from the judo. It's like a judo takedown. That's where it originated from. Because you guys have seen it where guys actually take guys down like judo takedown. Yeah. So that's where it originated from. And same thing with Greco-Roman. People found out the German suplex was from Greco-Roman. And those things translated from those real life sports, and we were able to kind of make it into our own. So yeah, I think any style of fighting really translates into wrestling.
Right. We were talking on one of our sports segments too about Brock Lesnar when he switched over to the UFC, and how wrestling kind of had to adapt to that and evolve, because it's hard to see the UFC heavyweight champion lose to Rey Mysterio, right? Like there has to be some kind of realism now adapted into wrestlers. And Ronda Rousey going into the WWE now too. I was telling people, you didn't really see people throwing real punches, real jabs and straights until now with Ronda Rousey. And right now, like, it's crazy coming back to wrestling after taking a long hiatus from it. I'm seeing a lot of Muay Thai with Malachi Black. Even Bryan Danielson's style is very Muay Thai MMA-ish now, right? And I know he trains jiu-jitsu too. So I remember I missed the whole Undertaker Shawn Michaels back-to-back match at WrestleMania, but looking back and watching him on Peacock, I saw triangles, I saw arm bars, which are new moves that kind of dangerous, because if you know, cousins try it on other cousins, you could actually snap their arms if you're not aware of the effectiveness of the technique, right? So yeah, it's evolving. It's crazy to see that it's still evolving right now and kind of becoming more real. And it's crazy that the Endeavor UFC WWE merger is happening now. So I feel like it's gonna keep going that direction, right?
100%. 100%.
I wanted to ask, what do you think about bleeding during matches?
Yeah.
I know Jordan bled in the Iron Man match, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I probably will never do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never been like I think it's awesome. I think it's cool, but for me personally, I just don't want scarring and stuff like that, because guys do get fucked up and they get scarred because they get too crazy with it. But I know nowadays they're trying to lean away from it because it's, you know, health and all that kind of stuff. And also because it's a PG product. So, you know, kids and blood is not a good mix for TV. So, especially kids now, I mean, it's weird, but for me, I think blood's like good if the story asks for it, you know, because to me, the whole point of blood is to make someone feel uncomfortable, you know?
Right.
And could you imagine, like, I remember when John Cena got like crazy blood from his match with JBL. And I remember almost like, but it's weird because when I was a kid, I didn't feel uncomfortable. I was just like, holy crap, he's bleeding a lot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you saw like something legit, it's like if you saw someone actually get like a legit cut, you almost feel uncomfortable. You're like, oh, that's gross. But like, for some reason, wrestling's like the opposite. You see a cut, you're like, oh my gosh, like, that's awesome. I don't understand how that works, but
we should ask John Moxley.
It just
that guy.
I love how it goes from one level to the other. I was, you know, because it's like you said in the story could be really hyped and it's to the peak where these two guys are really hating each other, and then the blood comes in and that just takes it next level. But yeah, someone said John Moxley right now, but you know, as much as I like him, when you're doing that shit weekly, it's like the nostalgia of it is just gone. And it's just, you know, it's cool, but it's not cool.
100%.
I mean,
I'm super glad you brought up the John Cena JBL match, because that was like my son went through a phase where he wanted to watch bloody matches, and I think it was probably because he was watching John Moxley do it every weekend, or every week on Dynamite. But I showed him that match. I showed him that one, and then I think Eddie and JBL had a Texas bull rope match or something like that,
where he cut his artery, right?
Dude, yeah, like
he cut too deep or something.
And my son was sitting there, and he was like he just had that phase of like that didn't phase him. And I remember being a kid too, and that exact thing would happen where like someone would get busted open. I'm like, oh, I'm into this. But then I turn on like MTV and watch Scarred, and I'm like, I can't watch this show. Like, so it's
right.
Right.
Like, because it's wrestling, it's like different feeling with like the blood, and but it's absolutely a necessity in my opinion for certain teams. Like you can't have a blood feud without blood. So I'm kind of bummed that like WWE shot away from it, but you know, they had the hard way spots couple. I think 2 matches now in 2 weeks with Brock and Lashley, but
well, you know, Brock was just like, Brock was like, I'm bleeding, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was like, no one's gonna tell him no. So like that was definitely a spot that was planned, but Lashley just got to up the hard way.
Definitely.
It added to that though. Like to me, like I think that was for that match specifically with him and AJ. Like that made it more believable. in terms of like you have a big dude like Lashley against AJ, like the size differential is not comparable. But when you see a wounded animal, like it's okay, like AJ's on the prowl. It made a lot of sense, with him getting that dub. So I definitely think it's a necessity in blood feuds, and it definitely enhances certain feuds if it's used correctly. So that makes a lot of sense why you feel the way you do.
Speaking of bloody matches, I have to ask if any of you have actually watched Puerto Rican pro wrestling. I just gotta ask.
I can't say I have.
So
just Backlash in Puerto Rico.
Don't
Bad Bunny's in it.
No. So this is what I want from you guys. It's gonna trip you out.
All right.
I want you guys to look up Puerto Rican pro wrestling like highlights. Don't watch a match, just watch little highlights because there's an actual video of like Puerto Rican wrestling, and like there's one that's like you're like, what the heck? Because they were crazy, man. Like they did some crazy shit. One of the things they did, one guy. The story is that he, I think he ate blood or something, like from an animal. Obviously, he drank it, and then in a move, he took like a double stomp to his stomach, and he made himself like gag, and then he started puking out the blood. So it looked like he had an internal injury, and it looks like it, and you're just like. And I'm just telling you guys, Puerto Rican wrestling is next level.
He loaded his stomach with blood pre-match and then like used that spot to puke that. Oh my god,
that's some David Blaine shit, bro.
He's working it, man. He's a worker.
I'm telling you guys,
that's wild.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I was like, that's why when that's why when Bad Bunny came out with the trash can, like people were going wild.
Yeah.
Damn. Some Puerto Rican pro wrestling right here.
Yeah.
It's like backyard stuff. Is this it?
No. It's like legit.
Okay.
Like, it's like, oh man, hold on. Let me see. Just look pro wrestler coughs up blood.
All right. Coughs up blood.
Pretty sure you could find it because it's like, it's pretty up there.
Dang.
Or maybe it's too disturbing for YouTube. I don't know.
I took it down.
Yeah.
I'm on.
Hey, so J2. Speaking of Puerto Rico, I think that's been a very hot topic in the mainstream wrestling scene lately with how that crowd was and that environment for Backlash. Are there any crowds and environments you've been a part of that stick out to you, like in your career that were intense or insane?
Yeah, I remember going to my first GCW show, and I was watching Nick Gage. I don't know if you guys know who Nick Gage is.
Yep.
And I remember my buddy was telling me about it, and he was just like, "You ever seen the Nick Gage match?" I said, "No, never seen him or heard of him." And he's known for coming out, and he kind of starts a mosh pit, and everybody just goes crazy just from his entrance. And I was just like, wow, like that was crazy. This was in Las Vegas. So people came from everywhere to watch him, but that was an amazing crowd. Cause I was like, holy shit. These people are going crazy for this guy. Like he's a freaking rock star. And that was probably the craziest fans I saw was that day at GCW. GCW definitely has the craziest fans, I would say, that I've seen so far. So.
And then for crowds that you've wrestled for, are there any that stick out to you?
Yeah, man, that Seattle crowd, dude, I'm telling you.
Seattle, yeah.
I was so new to the business, and like they went crazy from me doing an arm drag, Like I did an arm drag and they just lost their minds. They were like, "Oh." And then my buddy did a leapfrog, when the guy goes under him.
Yeah.
And he jumps. He does like a double jump. Like he'll jump when the guy comes over him, and then he jumps backwards. Like he doesn't turn. He just jumps again.
Oh, okay.
Like Sami Zayn, yeah.
Yeah. And the crowd was just like, oh. And I just remember going to the back, and we're just like, what the hell, man? Like we didn't do anything. Like these people lost their minds, like
It's like a SpongeBob episode where he's behind the curtain and throws out his thumb and gets cheers, and then
exactly.
Squidward's hand comes up.
Exactly.
All right, so it sounds like we need to get the Heartless Kings up to the Pacific Northwest, huh?
Dude, I'm telling you, that's the dream right now. That's the dream.
Yeah, no, they really showed out when AEW was there recently. It doesn't hurt when you have your hometown hero and Daniel Bryan out there. So, but that's definitely a crowd that we've heard of lately. That's been Pacific Northwest, Seattle, wrestling crowd.
100%.
What's your routine like when you have, or do you have a routine when you have like such high moments, like you said, after the Iron Man match, probably after the ladder match, you're feeling like at the top of the world. Do you have like a decompressing routine, kind of like what's the after hours usually like for the Playmaker?
It's pretty like surreal, I guess, because like you're just in such a high after a match that you're just like your body's just kind of slowing down.
You're like vibrating and glowing.
Yeah, and then as you're like getting back home, you start cooling down, and then you start feeling the pain because you're like, oh yeah, I took a pretty nasty bump today. I wasn't feeling it at the moment. But usually what I do to decompress is, it's hard because I wrestle 3 times a week every week usually, So I don't really get to decompress until like maybe till Thursdays. Like I only really get one day to take a day off. Most of the time I'm training or working out. So I don't really have a day off,
Yeah.
So
because you teach too, right? You still train people?
Yeah, I do. I still teach at San Diego Pro Wrestling Academy. I have my own classes. I have like 3 classes. I teach in the mornings, and then I have a tag class where I'm trying to teach guys how to do tag team wrestling, things like that. So I'm pretty busy when it comes down to training and stuff. But I mean, I can easily just take a day off and just tell guys what to do. But it's hard for me because I'm a very hands-on type of guy. So I like to be in the ring with people and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, really in the game, man. What's something you've noticed with up and coming wrestlers that they struggle universally? I mean, also being a wrestler that's been on that path.
It's kind of like sports where people don't really understand what they're doing. A good example is sometimes when we watch wrestling, like obviously when you guys would watch, let's talk about the Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels match. Like when you watch them, you're not thinking about the headlock that Shawn Michaels constantly gets Kurt Angle in, right? There's a reason he's doing it, but the fans don't think about that, right? But because fans are more like, oh, look at how technical Shawn Michaels is. Wow, he's out wrestling a gold medalist, and then vice versa with Shawn Michaels. Like that's what you guys are thinking about. But a wrestler, he's like, he's working his head because he's smart. You see, like we're more nitpicky with why they do every single move compared to a fan. A fan's just gonna appreciate whatever it is they do. As for wrestlers, we kind of understand. Oh, he did this because it leads to something else later on, And a lot of guys, when they first start off, they don't understand that. Like they're like, yeah, my finish is a DDT, but they barely touch the head. Like they never work the neck, the head, or anything,
Right.
And it doesn't make sense, because like, here's a perfect example. If you guys watch Ric Flair, what's Ric Flair's finish? The figure 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Every match Ric Flair has, he works the leg, even if it's like for a small moment. He will hurt the leg and then he'll go into the figure 4 because he understands. I can't just go for the figure 4. Like I could, but then it's going to take him longer to tap out. You see, right. But if I work the leg, I can make him tap out quicker. So that's the thing that a lot of guys don't understand. The problem with wrestling is that the guys that join wrestling, they join because they're fans, which is how we all started, but they can't move away from being a fan. They keep being fans. They don't figure out how to become wrestlers mentality wise. And that's why, in my opinion, not a lot of guys get picked up because they don't understand wrestling.
So it's almost like seeing it fragmented and in comparison to seeing the whole picture of why you're doing what you're doing.
I would say the easiest comparison is like if you play football, right? Like you play running back, or no, yeah. Let's say you play running back, right? Or no, let's say you play quarterback. You know that you have to throw the ball to a receiver, or you give the ball to a running back, but that's all you know, right? You know how to like, okay, this play is this, but that's all you know. You just know that you have to throw a ball, but you don't understand like, oh, the receiver is taking this route to go here for a reason, but you understand that as a quarterback. That's why like quarterbacks are really smart because they understand the game, right? And that's kind of how wrestling is too. If you just, I just go out there and wrestle and I do moves, that's great. But then you don't understand why you do moves. And that's why people care and pop for things, you know?
Right.
So that's really what it is.
I mean, one person that we're a fan of and who comes to mind when it comes to that wrestling style is Bret Hart. When he's fighting a bigger guy, he works on the legs, which eventually leads to the sharpshooter. So I see. Interesting. So I have to say too, being the Playmaker and having the Weeknd as your theme song, I was talking to Danny about how cool it is that we're seeing like licensed song become entrance music for certain superstars, like Jungle Boy with that Tarzan song, you with Save Your Tears. It looks like the Weeknd is gonna or Abel's gonna retire that character, the Weeknd, which I immediately thought of you, man. I'm like, dude, this is perfect because now you kind of adopt the look from.
I just take it from him.
Yeah, are you excited about that? Do you even have any kind of like feelings towards that?
I mean, I can't be him forever. That's the honest truth. Like I know I love the gimmick I'm doing right now, but at the end of the day, wrestling's about evolving. So I can't be the Weeknd J2 forever. At some point, it's got to move on to something bigger and better, you know. And I think it will, you know, because right now I capitalized on something that's really popular in today's society. So I'm happy that helped me kind of really jumpstart my career even further. I just wish I got into that earlier, but I think it all worked out. So we'll see. But I'm a little sad that it's going to be his last like album. Yeah. And then he's moving on to bigger things, but I don't know. You never know. The industry's different, very weird. So he might change his mind. You never know. Yeah,
seriously. I mean, Logic's still coming back. Eminem's still putting out songs. Jay-Z's still out here. It's crazy.
It's crazy to think about. I was going to say, it's crazy to think about the Weeknd's had a headlining WrestleMania song for 4 consecutive WrestleManias.
It's so funny. Yeah. It's so funny.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's the universe telling you something, man.
Exactly. Definitely telling me something.
Yeah. Guys, what do you think the best walkout song is in wrestling history?
Oh man.
I think it's Stone Cold.
Iconic, huh?
The glass breaking dude is just, you hear that, you go crazy. You know shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I always think. Like you hear the glass break, it's over.
The one that's always like stuck with me, I think is because I was just becoming a fan when it hit. Was "My Time" by Triple H, or Triple H's "My Time" theme. Like that one, like whenever I hear that, I'm like, oh man, that sends me back. Like that food critic in Ratatouille. You know, like when he takes a bite of the ratatouille and he goes back to being a kid. When I heard once that was this on, I'm like, oh. Let me go get my freaking Triple H jersey again. Like that one always got me.
He's all, you go back into your childhood, you're all sad about your day. You're like, man, school sucked today. But then you turn on the TV, you see Triple H's entrance, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you remember.
I got my ass kicked at school. I got picked on. I come home, my mom turns on Raw, and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, you're like, Triple H. My savior.
I think all time though theme. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Stone Cold. Like from like a mainstream, probably like general population like answer is probably Stone Cold. That gong hit though when Taker comes out.
Yeah, that one's up there too with him, huh?
Yeah, and he had like 4 different bangers too.
He did.
Like he had 4 different versions of his theme that like like all hit. So, yeah, probably
You're talking
Taker.
about Stone Cold or
No, Taker.
oh Taker. Oh yeah. I like the Ministry
Yeah.
style. That one was
That one was
very
hard.
eerie. Actually, no,
Yeah.
the Corporation Ministry
Corporate
remix
Ministry,
is pretty badass.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, like I missed all that growing up. I came in a little bit later. So like my first Taker theme that I heard was Kid Rock.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because that same Iron Man match, Judgment Day, like that was when I first saw him like live. Like before that, it was just like highlight videos or like Best of Raw Volume 1 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say like the Dead Man stuff, and but when he rode down on that motorcycle for the first time and Cost Rock that Iron Man match, he was rolling down to Kid Rock, and then it was Limp Bizkit. So I missed all that, but going back and watching it though, I was like, oh, that's tight for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I was introduced with the old school, like gray gloves Undertaker.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like the very like 8-bit sounding Undertaker music.
He was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, with me, I'll say that it's so generic, but obviously, either The Rock or the Stone Cold had like the best songs, because I mean, you just hear "If You Smell," or again, you hear the glass shattering, shit's popping, you know.
Yeah.
But I also did like it when out of nowhere it was like, "Turn it up," and you're like, "Oh,
Too cool.
too cool."
He's seriously great.
Yeah,
Underrated song.
The crowd would be popping too with them. So, but I would say my favorite entrances, it has to go back to my favorite wrestler, Sting, because it would black out the arena, and then he would sometimes just come from the top, you know, with a line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Just looking
sometimes
down.
with the crow on his shoulder, whatever, you know. So I like that. When Jerezy and I play 2K and he'll be Taker, I'll be Sting, I'm like, this is for the real Prince of Darkness. This is the true Prince of Darkness.
The dream match we never got.
Yeah. But
Damn.
that's
I think for me, I'd have to agree with Stone Cold, because it's one of those songs where you hear the glass break, and if you hear any other variation of that, it's like, you know, you got to hear the original, original song that plays right after the glass break. So yeah, it would have to be Stone Cold.
It's still being played now too. Like that went mainstream. Like people use it like for baseball. They use it as a walk-up song. I heard it recently too. Like someone on the Oakland A's had it. I was like, damn.
And Eddie Guerrero too. Can't forget his Latino Heat.
Yeah.
Oh, you like that one?
That one was dope too. Yeah.
When that one
come out with the lowrider.
I always liked the other ones, but every time I heard Latino Heat, I kind of cringed every time when I was a kid. I'd always cringe. I'm like,
him and
it's
China.
better than the WCW entrance he had. I'll say that.
That's true.
All right, what's the worst walkout song that you guys have heard in wrestling history?
Right to censor.
I got one.
That fucking alarm going off, man. Hated that shit.
Dang. Fun, huh?
I'd have to say Macho Man, dude. The OG graduation music.
Graduation.
Come on, yo. How did you not change that, bro?
That's fucking iconic, dude.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, man.
Right.
Damn, that's a tough one, man.
With me, I don't know if you guys knew him. The Cat, Ernest Miller, when he was in WCW, he had a gimmick of James Brown. That song was absolutely the worst song you could ever walk into. And then he would. I was about to stand up and but he would try to do the little step, like the little.
You gotta do it. You gotta get
James Brown. It was terrible, man.
Do it.
I actually got one. I hated Kyrie Sane's song. when she was in NXT. I hated
Oh, the Pirate Princess one?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Okay.
Terrible. Because I felt like it just didn't fit. Like I understand that it was her gimmick, but I also understand that it just didn't fit wrestling the way it came out. I was just like done. It was like ding ding ding, and I was just like, I was like, all right, when's the awesome guitar hit? You know,
it was like the knockoff like Pirates of the Caribbean theme.
Right. I was gonna say the other pirate guy, Burchell, but even his song was better than hers. You know. So
I remember one that I hated when I was growing up was Billy and Chuck's. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
I remember that one.
I can't recall, but I remember when they were coming out.
Yeah, I was too young for that gimmick. But man, like I go back and look at that stuff, and I'm like, that was genius. It was so funny. But yeah, I remember I hated that theme song, and I hated Right to Censors. That was the worst. Especially since they were starting to like try and censor all the stuff that I was liking. Obviously, being a young boy, growing up into my adolescence, I'm like, why are you going to censor like bra and panty stuff? Get out of here with that! Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, that Right to Censor for sure is my number one. Like, I hate that shit.
But you know what the best song ever? The Basham Brothers.
The Basham.
I don't know why, but the Basham Brothers song always freaking. I thought it was the coolest song. I was like, wow, this thing is pretty fire.
Yeah.
The Basham Brothers. I'm telling you guys.
Danny and Doug.
Yeah, Basham Brothers.
It's crazy how we connect with these songs, man. Like I have a playlist of WWE songs, and like sometimes I listen to them to work out. You know, running to Roman Reigns' theme song. Oh my goodness, you can go for hours.
Jesus.
And that one's starting to gain some steam.
Here you go. What's your WWE workout song?
Let's go on, man. You know what? I'll keep it old school, and I think Bret Hart's song keeps me going. You know that late '80s, early '90s vibe. You lift some weights, do some sparring, go running with some Bret Hart. What about you guys?
I'll say the one that I did listen to working out one time was the Wolfpack NWO. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack.
I'd probably go with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle's song. That's my favorite
That's
wrestler.
a good song.
With the you suck in the background.
No, you suck. Come on.
No, you suck. No, you suck.
Let's be respectful.
He did the remix.
You know,
I thought you liked the motivation of the you sucks, you know, like it makes me go harder.
Fun fact, Zach. Actually, when I first started watching WWE as a 12-year-old, maybe even 10 years old, my first match was a Kurt Angle match that I watched on SmackDown. So just because you said he's your favorite wrestler.
My favorite wrestler. Yeah, I hated him too at first. Him and Triple H, I hated at first, and then I just was like, oh, these guys are so good. But yeah, I don't remember the first match I watched. Actually, it might have been Kurt and Taz at Rumble, like my first ever live match that I can remember watching. I think was that. I know I probably watched some Raws before then, but it was like around that like early 2000s time where I watched it. So we might have had the same first match, or at least first wrestler I watched.
It's crazy. We talked about what our favorite golden era of wrestling was, and you mentioned yours, J2, was the Ruthless Aggression. Crazy that the top players of that era they're retiring now, right? John Cena and Randy Orton. Yeah,
pretty much. Like it's the end of that era, you know. My era is retiring.
It's crazy. Oh man,
that sucks about Orton. Like he was. That doesn't sound good. That he might not come back.
Might be the voices in his head. Voices in my head.
Also a good thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have Hardys and Sting wrestling.
That's true.
Which is
Goldberg's
crazy.
around the corner, waiting to retire. He'll be coming back.
Yeah.
So do you
Still
guys
got
do you guys think Goldberg's coming to AEW for his retirement match?
I think so, man.
No, I don't think so.
They have the money.
High hopes.
Although I heard this being pitched, for one of the podcasts I listened to or whatever, but like if he ended up being MJF's muscle, that'd be hilarious. That'd be so fucking funny.
Would that be?
That'd
Speaking
be
of
so hilarious.
MJF, did you see that video of him showing up to, is it Create a Pro Wrestler? I think it was the promotion that he started out.
I saw something about that.
Dude, it was tight. He cut a full promo, did a full match against Leo Santana, the vegan.
Yeah, man. That's like
love
when
that shit.
J2
That's
makes
awesome.
it to New Japan and comes back
I
to
know.
EWF and does
That's
a
what
match.
I'm saying.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it, guys. I'll become the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I'll come back to San Diego Pro and I'll be like,
Yo, that's tight.
What's up?
That's a sick belt too. I love that belt.
dude,
Yeah.
that's a dream, brother. That's the dream.
That's tight, dude.
If you guys see me at the Tokyo Dome with that belt, I've made it.
Wrestle
No.
Kingdom, what, 18?
Yeah, and it's me versus Okada. And I'm top of the world right now.
Okada's retirement match. J2 retires Okada.
Yeah.
That's a great point. So you're already prepping for that, right? Obviously, if you get there, you have to change your song. Do you already have a backup song to change it, or fuck it, I'm rolling with this one?
Yeah, so I would WWE style it where I have a
Mm.
guy make me a custom song where it's literally the same song.
Ah,
So
okay.
just the weekend song. It's like Save Your Tears. You're like, wait a minute, this sounds like Save Your Tears, but
It's a little off.
maybe I Shawn Michaels it and I put my own voice. I'm like,
Do it.
There
Save
you
your
Just don't let it be like the Titanic on the recorder where it's off like that,
Yeah.
So we hit the right notes on it. Yeah.
That's
I
right.
hate
Yeah,
when
hit the right notes.
Like I've been trying to go back and find some songs of like that, like WWE used to use for their pay-per-views because I remember hearing them when I was a kid. And I'll go back and watch something and like it'll be like this generic rock song. I was like, no, that promo was like some sick like heavy metal song that they can't play. Like it drives me nuts.
Yeah. That's bad. They had some bangers. when we were
Yeah.
younger.
Yes.
So I'm saying, I think my
they had
favorite
some
was
sickness.
the build-up between Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Was it Headstrong?
Was it Headstrong?
I think.
Oh, I think it
Headstrong.
was. Yeah.
Which was badass because Israel Adesanya came out to that song versus fight
Yeah.
with Rhea, and I was like, huge callback to it.
I think I always liked the Seether song where Seether, I think that was her name. It was when it was Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Classic
Yeah,
match.
Hilarious
Yeah.
feud, brother.
Oh yeah.
Can't forget the bodies drowning pool.
Bodies. SummerSlam 2001. Yeah.
Yes, that was the best one. And Limp Bizkit put in a lot
That
of,
was it. Yeah, My Way, WrestleMania
Mhm.
17.
all for WWE. Yeah, man, these bands put.
Yeah. I gotta ask, what's your favorite WrestleMania stage?
It's a good one.
This last one was fire.
Yeah, it's hard
It was
to
pretty
beat
cool.
this last one, right?
The last one was dope. 30, was it 33? Orlando, that one was sick with the roller coaster.
Mm.
Man.
The one at Levi Stadium was good too.
I'm gonna say for me, it might be 9, like the original outdoor one. Well, I don't think it was
Yeah,
the
was
original, but
Was that Vegas?
I think that was in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, Caesar's Palace.
My favorite was 19, the Seattle, where they had the long.
Oh, Safeco. Yeah.
That was really cool.
That was sick.
Just because, like, just imagining like Stone Cold walk through that entire way.
Hmm.
That was a long
like-
walkway.
Like he's just like,
You hear the glass break 3 times. They had to repeat.
Yeah. Both knee braces. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 20 No, 21. The first time they were in Hollywood.
Yeah.
That one was really cool.
That was
I
a
don't
dope
know if I
setup.
have a favorite though. Like the one was it 17 and 18 felt massive.
17 was a vibe.
17 and 18 felt huge because they were so tall. And then you had 19, it was kind of shorter, but man, I don't know. This is tough. I'm gonna go 33. I think just like having the roller coaster and the big globe and like that long ramp. I think that one that just always stands out to me.
Oh,
Last
yeah.
year's was fucking sick. This past one was so sick.
Yeah, this most recent one was pretty badass. One of the kind of mid ones that I do like, just because I like the graphic promo of it, was WrestleMania 16, the 2000 one.
2000, yeah.
I think that was in Anaheim.
That was when they had like
They really hyped that one up.
they had like the fatal 4-way, and then you had like the camera angles where like they'd turn into the camera, and then they'd have like the person who was with them, because it was like a
Yeah.
McMahon in every corner. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was
That
a
was
Big
dope.
Show and The Rock, Triple H, and Jericho on that one.
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah. So let's ask this to get off the topic of music. It's obvious that Weeknd is one of your favorite artists, and you mentioned that Daft Punk was one of them too. What other artists do you listen to? Let's name. That was 2. Let's name 3 more out to complete the 5.
Definitely Panic at the Disco. That's one of my favorite artists. I don't know if you guys know Panic at the Disco. That was like my high school favorite. The other one I listen to is that I've been listening a lot to is I've been listening to like this kind of weird style, like techno music. It's kind of like weird. One of the it's called Yvetzel. That's the guy who sings the song.
Mm-hmm.
And the song is like Cataclysm, but there's like a name for this style of kind of music. I'm not sure what it is, but like I've just been hearing it on TikTok, and it's used for like edits a lot. So I just like the style. So that's kind of what I've been listening to. And then the other thing I've been listening to is a lot of Kanye, actually. I've been listening to a lot of Kanye recently.
Okay.
Heartless has been on my mind.
You know what would be cool? You know what would be cool, bro? Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Interesting.
I kind of see what's going on.
I caught that right away.
It would be badass to see you in that red suit, the Kanye suit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
The Kanye red.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Write that down. Write that down.
The ideas are flowing.
That's dope as fuck. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with some rapid fire questions. We'll ask you some questions and just rapid fire answer back.
Let's do it.
Most memorable wrestling moment.
Wrestling a 60-minute Ironman.
Obviously.
This is going to be the answer to a lot of these, I think.
I'll try not to think of the Ironman.
No, you're good. You're good. I got one.
Yeah.
What's your match of the year so far for 2023?
Definitely. Oh, you know what? Danny Devine versus J2 at Level Up.
Is that on YouTube?
Yes, it's on
Okay.
YouTube.
I'll watch that right after, bro. Ever been in a fight?
Yeah, when I was like 8.
Did you hit him with that Playmaker lariat?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely hit him. No, I hit him with the power slam.
Did you really do a wrestling move?
No. I think I just jumped on him or something.
That's funny.
What was the first wrestling move you ever took?
I want to say it was this. Oh, it was the flare bump. You know where Ric Flair climbs to the top rope and he gets thrown off.
Yeah,
that one, or he lands right in the middle from the top rope. That was the first move I ever took.
Do we know why he always did that in every match?
Yeah, he always want to look like a fool.
He never learned his lesson. That old, stubborn old
Every
man.
match. Oh.
Stylin' profiling.
Yeah.
Style profile.
Who do you think is the best babyface?
Cody Rhodes.
I agree with that.
Dang.
Right now, or all time?
Right now, but all time, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Going way back.
Yeah.
What's been the most painful move you received?
I took a Michinoku driver on the stage, and I landed on my tailbone. That really hurt. That really
Oh my
sucked.
goodness.
Yeah, and that was recent too.
Jeez.
I don't know if you guys know what a Michinoku driver is.
Yeah.
Sounds painful.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is.
There's a video of it on me on Instagram.
Okay.
If you could, I guess, sum it up as short as possible, how do you feel about AEW going to Wembley?
I think it's cool. I mean, I think they'll probably have a big fan base there. So I think it's definitely in the right direction because I think they're going to realize they're going to make more money doing shows outside of the U.S. than actually in the U.S. because that's what WWE's doing. So I think they're going to capitalize on that soon too.
Who's your favorite person to wrestle with?
My favorite person to wrestle is probably going to have to be
It's thinking very hard.
It's probably a lot.
I would have said my tag partner Michael Hopkins, but we didn't. Our last match wasn't my favorite, so it's not him.
Oh,
it's probably
As
gonna
long
have
as
to
you
be.
don't say that clown Anthony Idol, we're
There you go. Super Astro Jr. I love wrestling that guy.
Awesome.
If Red J2 fought Blue J2, who wins and what's the finish?
Nice.
dang.
Red J2 would win, and he would beat him with the Playmaker lariat.
Classic.
Maybe like 5 lariats though.
Dang. All right. Love that.
All right.
The Brazilian.
Last two for me. What's your least favorite thing about wrestling, man?
Oof.
I hate that the standard is always just about your look. Like it seems like your look is the main priority, no matter how good you are. Like that's one thing I wish that kind of changed about the business because I feel like there's guys out there that may not look like a fucking bodybuilder, but are still amazing wrestlers. It's similar to sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one thing I really hate about the business.
And my last one is your favorite thing about the industry.
I think my favorite thing would have to be that it's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done because it's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's also the most rewarding because when you get to the goals you want to get to, it's extremely like you feel very good and very I forgot the word, but it's just a good feeling. Like you succeeded, you know. So very rewarding.
Right. You guys got any more?
Yeah, last one for me. When you're wrestling, do you think more of the immediate audience that you're wrestling for, or do you think about also the cameras that are catching you wrestle?
I think about the audience. Yeah, I think about the audience. I always want to make sure they're engaged and having fun. So that's definitely the first thing I worry about.
Awesome. Great question. J2 Mattioli. Can you do me a favor, J2?
Yes, sir.
Cut a promo for us out of here, man.
All right. I am the Playmaker J2, and I just want to say thank you for joining us here for K4V3 with the Playmaker Part 2. But always expect another part from your most favorite wrestler in the world and soon to be the best wrestler in the world with the best stable in the world. And we're all going to take over. And that's all I can say. I'll catch you guys later. We'll catch you guys later. Playmaker out.
Peace out, guys. That was awesome. Thanks for coming on, man.
Heartless Kings.
Appreciate you guys.
Kings.
Heartless Kings, baby. Shirts are incoming.
Whoop whoop. Save your
Your
tears for
tears
another day.